Hi, this is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator of PowerfulInterviews.com. I am the creator of AudioSecretsTrainingEvent.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine, international speaker, best-selling author, the beautiful Dina Dwyer-Owens. Dina Dwyer-Owens, she is the best-selling author of a phenomenal book, which is called Values Incorporated. This book is designed for entrepreneurs, business leaders, authors, and speakers. And she is the best-selling author of her other phenomenal book, which is called Live Rich. So in this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Dina Dwyer-Owens built a phenomenal franchise business, and she generated millions of dollars in the franchise industry. Dina Dwyer-Owens took over the Dwyer Group, which is her business, and she actually took that over from her father, and much, much more. So remember, this is not bullshit information. The correct information will change your situation. Wealthy people take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people take advice from broke people. But I love what the multi-billionaire says. His name is Warren Buffett, and his net worth, his business has actually generated $300 billion. He says the more you learn, the more you earn. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, international speaker, best-selling author, the mega millionaire, the beautiful Dina Dwyer-Owens. This interview is going to change your life. So check it out.
I have a wonderful person on the call, and she's a great friend of mine. Her name is Dina Dwyer-Owens. And for those that don't know Dina, let me explain to each and every one of you about this incredible, phenomenal woman. Dina Dwyer-Owens is the co-chairman of the Dwyer Group. America also knows her for her participating in CBS's Emmy award-winning reality show, Undercover Boss, a winner of the 2012 Ernest & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award for the Southwest Area North, and named a top 100 champion in the 2012 Small Business Influencers Award. Dina Dwyer-Owens leads by example and credits a growing team for the franchise family she presides over today. Dina Dwyer-Owens is a certified franchise executive with more than 30 years of industry experience. Having grown up in the Dwyer Group, that business now includes 8 franchise brands and more than 1,600 locations around the world through direct franchising and master license agreements, operating as Glass Doctor, Mr. Appliance, Mr. Electric, Mr. Rooter, Rainbow International, The Grounds Guys, and 5 Star Painting. Collectively, those service brands make more than 2 million customers calls a year and account for more than $1 billion in system-wide sales. She is the best-selling author of her 2 phenomenal books, which is called Live Rich, and her other powerful book, which is called Values Incorporated. How incorporating values into business and life can change the world, and that is an awesome, impressive resume. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the beautiful Dina Dwyer-Owens to the show.
Thank you, Arthur. I am blessed to be on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Dina, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about wealth creation and about your new phenomenal book, Values Incorporated, how incorporating values into business and life can change the world. I gladly appreciate it.
Well, if I can just keep spreading this message through folks like you, we'll make a difference.
To everyone that is listening on this show, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend, the phenomenal Dina Dwyer-Owens, is going to educate each and every one of you about wealth creation and about her new phenomenal book, Values Incorporated. Is that correct, Dina?
That is right.
Now, what I'd like to know, and can you explain to the listeners in layman's terms, who is the beautiful Dina Dwyer-Owens? How long you been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
Well, I grew up in a family-owned business, as many of your listeners may have. My father, Don Dwyer, founded the Dwyer Group in 1981, but even prior to that, I was put to work as a young girl at the age of 12. I actually went to work at a car wash that he owned, so I was in charge of pumping the gas and selling. So it was all about selling polish waxes and detail jobs because he knew if he could teach me sales, I could do almost anything. So I grew up in the business, Arthur, and he had me learn every aspect of franchising. So when he founded the Dwyer Group, I was attending Baylor University, but I was also working about 30 hours a week for his company. And again, learning all aspects of the business, and working for a father who expects the very best was not easy. But looking back, I'm so grateful for the lessons. So I've done a little bit of everything in franchising. I think the most recent thing I can share is that I was the CEO of the Dwyer Group for 16 years. I took the company from being publicly traded to going private, and then going through a couple of rounds of private equity, and then recently promoted my company president, Mike Bidwell, to be CEO so that I could spend time talking to folks like you, spreading a message about values that is near and dear to my heart. I think it's the one thing that can change the trajectory of our world and is sorely needed.
Dina, explain to the listeners, what do billionaires and millionaires do on a consistent, regular basis that unfortunately broke entrepreneurs just don't do?
I think it starts with the very foundation of knowing who you are and what you stand for and not compromising that. So my father was a great student of leadership before he even founded the Dwyer Group in 81. And there were two things he found as common denominators amongst the greatest leaders, and they could be business leaders, they could be military leaders, church leaders, just leaders in general. Two things, Arthur. Number one is to be the best version of yourself. So no matter what you did yesterday, you can celebrate the victories, you can learn from the mistakes. We should learn from the mistakes. But today, to be a better person than you were yesterday. So it's always learning and growing and challenging yourself to step outside of your comfort zone and re-earning your position in the respect of your people and your customers every day, and to be authentic in that process. So earlier you mentioned how your listeners are hungry for leadership and lessons in leadership. Well, one of the greatest lessons is about being authentic and being transparent and acknowledging when you've made a mistake and then correcting that moving forward. The second greatest lesson he learned from studying leaders was to have clearly written values. Know who you are, what you stand for, and how you're going to operate your business. And this is good morals and ethics. And he founded the company with very strong values. And unfortunately, he died at the age of 60 of a sudden heart attack just after taking the company public. But the one thing he left us that we've never forgotten is this foundation of our values. We did have to take his original core values, which were more emotionally based beliefs, and operationalize them, Arthur, so every day we could measure whether or not we were living up to them. And that is the thing that has driven our success at the Dwyer Group, because we live and breathe those values day in and day out. We hire people around those values. We award franchises around those values. And when it comes to making difficult decisions, we look to the values.
Dina, explain to the listeners in your own influential way, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Wow, couple of pieces of advice. I think I just shared two of them with you because my father did a beautiful job of teaching not only myself but my 5 siblings the importance of being the best version of ourselves and leading with values. And I think the third greatest lesson is not to be afraid to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than we are. I'm just smart enough, Arthur, just smart enough to have led this company. Really, I'm good at a few things. One of the things I'm best at is having people around me that are better than I am and allowing them to do their jobs, inspecting what I expect, but allowing them to do their jobs.
Now, Dina, I know that you speak all over the world. Now, I know that the speaking speaking industry is a $780 billion industry, so it's huge right now. And we have entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening to you right now, where they are in the process of pursuing a professional speaking career. What advice would you give them in regards to, should they speak for free when they're speaking on other people's platforms, or should they charge a public speaking fee when they're starting out as a professional speaker?
That's an interesting question. And I speak all over the place, as you stated, and that all started with the fact that I had a message that people wanted to hear about. So when I first began to speak for groups, I did that at no fee. It was an opportunity for me to get exposure and to connect. Oh my gosh, Arthur, to connect with people like you. It's the opportunity to connect with people that I may not have had a chance to connect with. And that then creates this platform and an opportunity for paid speaking engagements. Now, everybody might, go get different advice from different folks. I'm just telling you where I began, and where I began was, just taking advantage of opportunities to get in front of audiences that wanted to hear my message and needed to hear my message. And today, I do some work for friends of mine in the industry, whether it's a Greg Reed at Secret Knock or a Joe Polish at Genius Network, or folks that are out there spreading great leadership lessons. But none of that's, I get something out of it. Every time I go out and I speak, I'm meeting people that just expand my wealth of relationships, that connect me with other folks who provide opportunities for paid speaking engagements. So I'm kind of a hyper speaker. I just select the talks that I want to do based on, can I really bring value to that audience, and is it the right opportunity for me and my family at that given time? Because I also have to be very selective about where I invest my time, because there's a lot of demands on our time today as entrepreneurs. So just being very thoughtful about it. But if you're just launching a speaking career and you really are in it to make money, sometimes that's the hardest way to go. If you think that from day one you're going to start getting money when people don't know who you are, you haven't really created a name for yourself or a quality message that people really want to hear. So sometimes you have to start by just taking those opportunities and connecting with the right folks, and getting the message heard, and then folks come to you saying, boy, we really want you to speak to our group, and then that's when you begin to get paid.
Now, you wrote 2 outside-the-box books. Your first book, which is called Live Rich, and your second book, which I love the title, Values Incorporated, How Incorporating Values into Business and Life Can Change the World. What inspired you to write your 2 phenomenal books, and would you say that your book is your business card?
It certainly is our brochure, I can tell you that. So maybe bigger than a business card. The first book, our company was growing so rapidly when we went from being public to private and teamed up with the Riverside Company, which has been a fantastic private equity partner. We were growing so fast. In fact, I remember in 2004 we bought a company larger than ours and inherited or adopted 1,200 employees overnight. So we went from having, a couple hundred employees to close to 1,500 employees overnight. And I was out doing speaking engagements. And I found it very, town hall meetings across the country trying to help these folks understand who we were, what we were about. And what I discovered was it was really hard to translate at those meetings what our values were really about, and for people to really understand them. So basically, one of my supervisors on my team said, "Why don't you write a book, a story book, so that we can help these new employees and new franchisees understand who we are very quickly in a short, maybe 2-hour type book. If you write something too long, people aren't going to read it." So I did that, and then I was speaking on that message across the country at different franchising events, and that's when others said, "Man, I really like that message. Can I buy that book?" And before you know it, I think we're in our 6th reprint of that book right now, Arthur, because it's really just taken. People have just said, this is something I haven't heard. Like you said, it's kind of an out-of-the-box message that people aren't focusing on, yet they need to. So it's all about values-based leadership, which, by the way, the Dwyer Group didn't create values-based leadership. We just happened to create a really smart and simple system around that, and I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. The second book, Values Inc., came out of this desire for people to understand more about how to put values into their own organizations. And most of these are for-profit organizations, but in some cases they're not. They're schools. I just had a dean of the Science and Engineering School at Texas Christian University in Fort Worth write me a note after hearing me speak to let me know that they went right back to work and they set up their own core values in the school. It's called the TCU College of Science and Engineering. And he said, now that doesn't sound like something you'd find at a School of Science and Engineering. He said, but what we understood from your practice at the Dwyer Group is it really makes a difference. So not only did he send me a letter thanking me for sharing the message, but he also sent me a newly printed values card that talks about what his organization, his school, stands for. And he went a step further and said, we're doing the same thing Dwyer's doing, and we're actually reviewing the values at the beginning of our meetings.
Wow.
And so that's why I wrote Values Inc. You know what? I didn't write it to make money, Arthur. I'm blessed to have this amazing career with the Dwyer Group. I wrote the book to make a difference. And when you're doing things for the right reasons, it's amazing how many wonderful things happen.
Well, Dean, I look at you as a value creator. And I know that you educate entrepreneurs and business owners about leadership, and I know that you really focus on core values. And I know that Tony Hsieh, which he's basically the owner of his phenomenal brand, and I know that in his organization, if a bad apple spoils it for the rest of his coworkers, they basically pay you $2,000 just to leave the organization because he doesn't fall, or he or she doesn't fall into that culture. Isn't that something?
It is amazing, and I look at people like Tony Hsieh and Stephen Covey and so many great leaders out there, Dan Cathy with Chick-fil-A, and I study their leadership models because we've got to always be learning and improve what we're doing, especially at the pace of growth we have at the Dwyer Group. I forgot to mention this, Arthur, as you were reading my bio, but since that bio needs to be updated because since that was sent to you, and I'm not sure exactly when you received it, but this year alone, this is because of the relationships and the reputation that our team has built at the Dwyer Group. We have acquired 6 businesses. We acquired a company called 5 Star Painting in January. We acquired 3 brands under the umbrella of Service Brands in June, so Molly Maid, Maid Cleaning, Mr. Handyman, and Protect Painters. We recently bought another company called Drain Doctor, which is the Mr. Rooter version of our plumbing business in the United Kingdom.
Wow.
And then we also bought the Canadian operation, the Grounds Guys business that we had owned in America. We bought the entire corporation out. So today we have 12 service brands that are serving over 2 million homes and businesses a year, and we're over $1.3 billion in system-wide sales today. And I'll tell you that the reason we have that success, it's because we operate on a foundation of values.
Wow. This is an incredible interview, and I appreciate you coming on my show today. Dina, explain to the listeners, what is your definition of marketing, and what does marketing mean to you?
Gosh, we're all in the marketing business, aren't we? Every team member here at the Dwyer Group, and we have about 650 folks that now work directly for the Dwyer Group corporate headquarters, and probably close to 14,000 that work on behalf of our franchisees out in the field. But we're all marketers, and what I think marketing is about building a solid reputation and delivering on that brand promise, whatever that brand promise is. At Dwyer corporate headquarters, that brand promise is delivering on our values, and people join our company as employees as well as franchisees because they are drawn to the values. It's like a magnet, Arthur. When you have clearly written values and you're leading with those, so the secret is you got to lead with them. You can't just have clearly written values because a lot of people have those. In fact, 95% of the companies in North America have clearly written values. They just do nothing with them. They just don't execute on them. So marketing is about living up to the promise. And at the Dwyer Group, we've got to work hard every day to live up to the promise of our values. And do we fall short sometimes? You better believe it, because we're a company built on human beings. But the way you maintain that reputation is you own it when you don't live up to the brand promise and you've made a mistake, because we're all going to make mistakes. But marketing, I could kind of go on and on about it. But I think just to net it out, it's really delivering on that brand promise. And every one of us here at the Dwyer Group is responsible for marketing because we're all responsible for delivering on our values.
So would you say that marketing done right is the quickest path to the sell?
Oh, absolutely. Because you know what marketing does? Marketing creates relationships. Well, delivering on the value or the promise of the marketing is what creates the relationships. And one of the things that it's a new kind of a theme that I have, and it's called Living Rich Creates Wealth. And what I mean by that is my first book's called Live Rich. And rich is the acronym for our core values of respect, integrity, customer focus, and having fun in the process. And below each one of those core values, Arthur, and the listeners can go to the Dwyer Group website and find those values or go and buy the books. But each one of those core areas has very specific values below them. And when our team, our franchisees live by those values, we create relationships because those values are all about treating people with respect and dignity, and we've got to provide a quality product or service. And when we do that, we build very strong relationships. Those strong relationships turn into referrals. So you want to talk about living rich creates wealth. It creates a wealth in relationships, and through then referrals, that translates into financial success. So when people try to convince me that values are just fluffy, warm, and fuzzy, I'm here to tell you they are so much more than that if you're executing on them and you're living up to your values. That creates that reputation where people say, I want to do business with them. You can trust these people. And you can't buy trust. You have to earn trust.
So once people like you, respect you, and trust you, that's when their minds are made up and they want to invest in you because you are the brand?
Exactly.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Now, you said living rich creates wealth. Can you explain to the listeners how can entrepreneurs and business owners, authors, speakers, and seminar leaders create unlimited wealth by taking their brand to the next level, making $15 million to $50 million a year or more?
I'm not exactly in the speaking business. I do a lot of speaking, Arthur, but I'm really in the franchising business. So I don't want to pretend that I've got the best advice for those listeners. All I can tell you is that when you have something unique, you have a unique message. It can be very simple, a very simple message, a unique message that people aren't hearing that can make a real impact in their businesses and their lives. And you go out and you deliver that message and you're living it. You got to live it too. It's one thing to go out, for example, for me to talk about values. If my team's not really performing, I'm in big trouble. So I speak about values. I was just at Harvard last Thursday with your friend Sharon Lechter speaking about values. But I've got to measure the performance. So whatever I'm speaking about, I better be sure that my team is living up to those values and that my franchisees are living up to this, knowing that we'll fall short sometimes, so we'll never be perfect. But I think if you're going to be out there speaking, you better have proof that what you're speaking about is really making an impact and can impact the lives of those people in the audience. And then there's just a ripple effect, Arthur. Again, people are attracted to people that are delivering value, and they want more. And they want more, and the message just spreads like wildfire. So I don't know why you couldn't end up, creating wealth, in the 15 million to the 50 million range, but it takes a lot of work. There's no get rich overnight scheme, especially in the speaking world. You stated earlier, there's lots of speakers out there now. More and more, are trying to enter the marketplace. So unless you have a really unique message that you can back up, it's going to be challenging.
Now, I know that you have a phenomenal franchise model that you and your team follows. What differentiates your brand from, let's say, the McDonald's franchise model?
Well, McDonald's is a great company, and I think what the common theme that any franchise or successful franchisor would have is a proven set of systems. So what a franchise is really about is a collection of systems that, when followed, generates success. And I would say success that is typically above somebody getting out there and starting their own business from scratch, because we take a lot of the guesswork out of running a successful business, whether it's a Mr. Reader Plumbing or Molly Maid's franchise system. When you join a franchise organization, and again, it's McDonald's too, is we teach you how to work on the business, not in the business. So in the case of Dwyer, we've got a lot of folks that may already be in the industries, whether they're an electrician or they're an appliance repair person or they're a landscape company. They seek Dwyer out. And many times it's businesses who've been out there for 25 and 30 years, Arthur, because maybe they're good at the technical side of the business, but they don't understand how to really run a profitable business. So they come to Waco, Texas for our basic training. We teach them how to work on the business and not in it. So we teach them how to market your business, how to recruit and retain employees, how to recruit and retain customers, how to create a profitable model for your business and get paid what you deserve for the experience that you're providing. So yeah, any good franchisor should be providing those things, and it's the support that we provide that makes a difference. It's scary to be out there in the business world alone today. I don't know about you, Author, but I feel for entrepreneurs who are out there by themselves, because in franchising, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So you've got a team of people here in Waco, Texas, or across the globe, depending on where the franchise is, who you can call. And if you get stuck on a marketing issue, for example, pick up the phone or email one of our marketing team members, and we're going to support you and help you through that. We're not going to get out there and run the business for you, but we're going to be a coach that's always on standby, waiting to help you when you're faced with a challenging issue. I think about the complexity of marketing. You've been talking about marketing. I think about the complexity of social media alone. And as business owners, entrepreneurs, how to decide, where do I invest my marketing dollars today? Because it used to be for us that you could put a simple full-page ad in a yellow page book, and guess what? The phone would ring. That's not the case anymore. So our franchisees are dying, and people just looking to join us, they're dying for direction on where do I put my marketing dollars.
Now, you just mentioned that phenomenal word, marketing dollars. Let's talk about the power of delegation. Now, I know the minimum wage of a millionaire is around $524 an hour. So I always tell my listeners, what can you delegate for $524 an hour, or what can you delegate that is within your current budget? Explain to the listeners the power of delegation, and should they delegate things out that they're not currently good at so they could just really focus on increasing their revenue within their businesses?
Absolutely. And I'll start with just the listeners as leaders. As leaders, we talked about surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you are. If I did not have an amazing leadership team at the Dwyer Group, we would never be where we are today. Because, again, I'm only good at a few things. So I'm surrounded by people. My CEO, Mike Bidwell, he is just a master operator. He knows how to lead, and over the years has become an amazing leader, but he knows how to operate successful businesses. I mean, we're in a budgeting process right now, and that was not my strength. It's never been my strength. Can I budget? Yes, I can. But am I the best at really digging into the details of the budgets? No, it's exhausting for me. So as leaders, we have to know what we're best at and do the things that give us the greatest energy and results. And in the case of me, having somebody else that's doing all that budgeting work in conjunction with my CFO and accounting team, they'll deliver an exceptional budget that our board will approve that I am spending very little time on. They're going to deliver it. And you know what? Next year, they're also going to make sure we achieve it. Because when we're not hitting budget, they're tracking it closely. So you got to measure. In order to manage anything, you got to be able to measure it. And they measure it on, daily almost. So outside of just being a leader of your own businesses is when you think about outsourcing key things in your business that you're not good at. For example, when you think about search engine optimization at the Dwyer Group, we try to have our own center of digital excellence here at Dwyer, thinking that, we can do that. You can hire smart people who understand digital excellence.